Hey guys, Mr. Thibodeau here. So we're going to talk about Aksum and a lot of Africa. Okay, um, there were a lot of really powerful empires and advancements throughout Africa. One of the main things that I think is important to know is the prevalence of iron and iron working, even in small nomadic tribes, which is quite impressive to be able to do. Iron is not an easy thing to forge and to make, and especially to be able to do it on the move with clay forges is really impressive. Um, and it allowed them to have pretty impressive empires and things. One of the things that you'll find, though, is oftentimes the soil will last for a few hundred years of use, but eventually the land will get depleted. You know, the minerals in there that the plants are using will come to an end. And so now we use modern day fertilizers for that. And we know about crop rotation and we know about using compost and stuff to be able to help allow us to keep using soil. Um, what happened to Africa is the same thing that happened to the early Americas, where in New England the soil got depleted pretty quickly. And you had people having to move further and further west in order to find food and to grow. So farming is not without its perils. Um, Here, what happened is basically every time the farming and the agricultural dried up, the empire fell. You know, they didn't have a way of sustaining themselves, and so it kind of broke up, and people separated and moved. You see situations where trade is super, super valuable. These triangular sails here allow you to catch wind in a lot of different angles, which is why they're a little bit more valuable than and allow you to go straight when you catch that wind. So the wind can hit you at at the side, and you'll go forward. Um, you know, those are a lot of the things that triangular sail does for you. Um, and so it's really impressive how they're able to use those to be able to go forward. Um, Now, the trade is pivotal. We're going to see that over and over again. People want what other folks have, and they get it either through warfare or trade. And trade is, of course, the most beneficial one, where everyone benefits. Um, and you see people moving goods back and forth. Usually, empires get wealthy based on trade, and that's going to be true then as it is now. Controlling trade and being able to take part in trade is where a lot of money comes from. Um, yeah, so we have the monsoon winds, which are just really, really seasonal winds that, because of just the topography here, every single year the winds come in, and then every single year the winds come out. And it just was perfect for allowing trade to happen very naturally over the water. Over water is, of course, much, much easier because it's much, much easier to have a boat carry something that's heavy than it is to try to use have a go over land. Roads are not like they are now. It's very difficult to have good roads. We don't have rubber tires. We have wood wheels, and it's just very difficult. Um, East African city states. A few things to know is how Christianity existed around here, as well as Islam. They weren't necessarily competing. Necessarily, there were some difficulties, but sometimes they're living in harmony. Um, a lot of interesting stuff. I'm actually a little weaker on African history than other places. Um, so it's good things. I don't have too much to add. Um, the Portuguese coming in here. So this is the folks that are near Spain. They really wreck a lot of this. They bring capitalism. Capitalism is different than just trade. Capitalism is everything you do to get money, and to build wealth and to grow. And people don't live in what's called subsistence farming under capitalism. You have to always try and get more money and grow. Or at least our capitalism. What capitalism does is encourages every single person to try to produce something, which can be very, very useful. It's one of the reasons why England became such a dominant power. But it can also, if it's unchecked, be very, very detrimental. So the Portuguese are going to use that to essentially, they're going to couple that with slave trading, and we're going to see how um, the slavery is going to grow exponentially. See, very similarly to the Iroquois and the Americas, the Portuguese and the Africans in the Congo, they were working together, and Congo was conquering its neighbors and using the military might of the Portuguese to do so, and it was benefiting. But what it didn't realize is that it was going to happen, and they were going to start being taken as slaves themselves. And so you have this massive amount of people being taken away from Africa. All of these working and capable people being taken away from here and being sent to Brazil and being sent to America. And in that way, all of this wealth, all of this potential production was lost, as these people are no longer producing or helping to create an economy here. Instead, they're sent elsewhere. Now, Brazil had its own problems where a lot of those slaves were sent, where a lot of people died. Lots and lots and lots of people died. A lot more illnesses there, and a lot of, they didn't quite get, they did, they tried for a democracy, but didn't end up being as stable as the American democracy ended up being, the Northern United States democracy ended up being. But that's another class. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. A lot of cool things to see. These different African nations all doing different stuff, all growing and trying to compete. Very similar to what you see in the Middle East. Very similar to what you see in Europe. I think some big difference is there's not the same prevalence for written culture here. There's some written language for sure, but doesn't take on as big of importance as what we see in Europe and China and the Middle East. They had a much stronger oral tradition, and so they kept that more. And then I don't know if that hindered anything. It's just an observation. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of economy. Like, Africa is not poor. The whole continent is not poor nowadays. There's a lot of really, really modern cities, and South Africa in particular has got hopping music scene and a number of other things. A lot of different stuff happening in Africa. We kind of assume Africa is just one place, but it really isn't. It's like, it's bigger than everywhere else combined, and it's got a lot of stuff going on there. So that's kind of the things I want to talk about here. But anyway, I think that's about it. Anyway, have a good one, guys.